In the 1800s, Rome wasn't trying to become modern. It was trying to coexist. Every step forward passed something ancient. Every new building rose beside something broken. Every decision was made in the shadow of what had already been. This was Rome, a city living daily among ruins that refused to stay silent. Rome enters the 19th century already exhausted by history. Unlike cities racing toward industry or expansion, Rome is surrounded by reminders of power it no longer holds. Temples, forums, aqueducts, structures built to last forever, now sit cracked, scavenged, half-buried in ordinary life. Goats wander through collapsed arches, markets operate beside fallen columns, homes are built into ancient walls without ceremony. This isn't preservation. It's survival. Rome functions as a city layered directly on top of itself. The past isn't visited, it's inhabited. Streets curve around ruins instead of replacing them. Churches reuse stone from pagan temples. Everyday life adapts to history instead of clearing it away. And that adaptation creates tension. Because Rome is not just old, it is symbolic. Power still claims it. In the early 1800s, Rome exists under papal rule. Authority here is spiritual before it is civic. Decisions prioritize tradition, continuity, and moral order. Change is approached cautiously, almost reluctantly. The ruins help justify that caution. They remind everyone what happens when empires overreach. But the world outside Rome is changing quickly. Industry spreads, national identities sharpen, borders shift, ideas about governance move faster than stone ever could. Rome watches all of this from inside its ancient shell. And feels exposed. The population grows slowly, unevenly. Infrastructure lags, streets remain narrow, sanitation struggles, poverty presses close to monuments meant to represent glory. Visitors romanticize the decay. Residents live inside it. For locals, ruins are not inspiration, they're obstacles. They block roads, limit development, trap the city in layouts never designed for modern life. Every proposal to improve the city runs into the same problem. What do you remove? When everything is history. Rome hesitates, because removing ruins feels like erasing identity. But keeping them freezes the city in place. This contradiction defines daily life. Construction is debated endlessly, projects stall, repairs are cosmetic. The city maintains appearance without addressing function. Rome learns to exist in a constant state of delay. And delay becomes policy. The papal government reinforces order through tradition. Rituals continue. Authority feels ancient and immovable. The ruins become proof that Rome is eternal, that it doesn't need to hurry. But people feel the strain. Jobs are limited, growth is constrained. Younger generations see opportunity elsewhere. Rome's greatness feels inherited, not earned. An inheritance doesn't pay rent. By mid-century, pressure begins to build, not explosive but persistent. Rome isn't rebelling yet. It's questioning. Who is this city for? The past or the people living in it now? The ruins don't answer. They just remain. And as nationalist ideas spread across Italy, Rome feels the tension sharpen. The city that once ruled an empire now sits uncertain, governed by faith while surrounded by a world moving toward nationhood. Rome senses a choice forming. Preserve everything and remain trapped. Or change and risk losing what makes it Rome. The city delays again. Because delay has always worked before. But history is closing in. And living among ruins is about to become far more than a metaphor. By the middle of the 1800s, Rome could no longer pretend that waiting was neutral. The world around it was moving faster and closer. Italy was changing. Ideas of nationhood spread across regions that had once accepted fragmentation as fate. Cities modernized, railways stitched territories together, governments centralized power with speed Rome didn't trust. Inside the city, nothing collapsed overnight. That was the problem. Life continued among ruins as it always had. Markets opened beside broken columns. Clergy passed ancient stones on their way to offices older than most nations. Ritual reassured people that continuity still mattered. But reassurance doesn't fix stagnation. Rome's infrastructure lagged dangerously behind its symbolism. Roads remained inefficient, sanitation struggled, employment opportunities were limited. The city's importance was cultural and spiritual, but its economy felt small, fragile, inward-looking. And young Romans noticed. They compared their city not to its past, but to other cities in the present. Places that were building instead of preserving, expanding instead of hesitating. The ruins that once made Rome special now made it feel constrained. Pressure built quietly. When political change finally arrived, it didn't come gently. Authority shifted. The papal states weakened. Control over Rome became contested not in theory, but in practice. Armies moved. Decisions were made elsewhere and enforced locally. Rome became a prize. And for the first time in centuries, the city's ruins stopped protecting it. They couldn't slow troops. They couldn't negotiate power. They couldn't decide the future. When Rome was absorbed into a new political reality, the transition exposed how unprepared the city was for modern governance. Institutions had been built for preservation, not administration. Systems designed to maintain tradition struggled to manage growth, taxation, and infrastructure. Rome had to change. Not symbolically, functionally. The ruins were no longer just reminders of greatness, they were obstacles to survival. Streets were widened, projects long delayed were forced forward. Ancient stones were moved, catalogued, sometimes sacrificed. This wasn't vandalism. It was adaptation under pressure. And it hurt. Every change felt like loss. Every improvement carried guilt. Romans argued fiercely about what should be touched and what should remain sacred. The city learned that modernization doesn't arrive cleanly when history is everywhere. But Rome moved anyway. Slowly, carefully, unevenly. The past didn't disappear, but it stopped being the excuse it once was. The city began the painful process of living with history instead of inside it. Rome in the 1800s reveals a rare kind of struggle. Not between progress and collapse, but between memory and necessity. Living among ruins gave Rome identity, legitimacy, and reverence. It also delayed change, protected inefficiency, and trapped the city inside reverence for what had already happened. The ruins were never neutral. They shaped decisions. They slowed movement. They defined what felt permissible. Rome survived for centuries by leaning on its past. In the 1800s, it learned that survival now required something else: adaptation without erasure, movement without forgetting. The city didn't abandon its ruins. It learned how heavy they were. And that lesson still defines Rome today. If you want history that looks past glory, that examines what it means to live inside memory while facing reality. Subscribe. This channel explores cities not at their triumph or collapse, but at the moment when the past stops being enough to protect the present. More cities. More centuries. More stories about what happens when history refuses to stay behind us.